Rob Dauster here. I got Jeff Goodman with me.
Hell no.
John Fink.
Are we still live?
Field of 68 till I die.
I'm sorry, man. I blacked out.
Randolph Children.
DJ Khaled, you know the big DJ Khaled guy?
Hansbrough up and in.
Goodman needs to be fired all the time.
Josh Pastner.
You're going to beat people straight up.
You know the deal. Drink responsibly tonight. I'll be drinking with you.
Jerel McNeal.
From the bluest of the blue bloods to the smallest of the mid-majors.
This is Field of 68 after dark.
Hello and welcome to the Monday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. We are live here recapping a wild 3-day weekend in the world of college basketball. I have Jerel McNeal here with me. I have Tyler Hansbrough here with me. Both of their programs, Marquette and North Carolina, are coming off of big wins this weekend. We are going to dive into that. We also got to talk about those top dogs, baby. UConn, number one in the country. We're going to find out definitively whether or not it was UConn or Purdue that deserved to be the number one team in all of college basketball here. First time since 2009, UConn has been number one in the country. Fun fact, they've won 3 national titles since the last time that they were ranked number one. That's how we do it up in the Nutmeg State. Before we get into all of that, before we get into a full Monday overreaction, guys, we got to talk about Marquette. We got to talk about the Big East. We got to talk about those Golden Eagles. And you know who I'm going to first on this one. Marquette 87. Villanova 74. Jerel, it had to feel good to finally get that monkey off your back and get that W. Tyler Kolek, 21 points, 11 assists. Is he back? Is Marquette back?
I think it was a great step in the right direction. And just for the record, I won't say that they're back because I don't think they ever officially left. Obviously, they hit a little bit of a low point throughout the course of a season, but they bounced back with a really big game tonight, and it was to be honest, it kind of felt a little bit like a must-win game. Just being at home, they've been so good at home throughout the course of the last couple years that it couldn't have been possible for them to go back to back and lose back-to-back home games. So we knew it was going to be a feisty Villanova team coming in, especially with Justin Moore returning off an injury. But those guys put it together. TK got off to a little bit of a slow start. Finished great, had a hell of a stat line at the end, man. But for me, I still felt like he was a little bit out of it early on, at least offensively, shooting wise, just scoring the ball wise, but everything else was on point. But man, major shout out to Cam Jones, man, and Oso Ighodaro. I thought those guys carried us, pretty much start to finish as well, man. So those guys played great. They were able to put together a couple runs there in the second half and kind of put the game out of reach. And, just for Marquette Nation, apparently the sky isn't falling. We were able to get back on track here, get a big win versus Villanova, and some promising minutes as well too for some of the young guys. Zay Lowry and Trey Norman played some good minutes there. Lowry hit 2 big threes to kind of get the lid off the basket for us early on in that first half. But just a really good all around team win, and they were pretty impressive on the defensive end as well.
Yeah, Tyler, has the last 2 weeks, has that changed the way that you view Marquette? Has it changed what you think their ceiling can be this year?
Not for me personally. I'm a big believer in Tyler Kolek. But, for me, I thought that Villanova was a sleeper team. And I felt like if they lost this game, it would be tough to change their perception a lot of people have. And I think Villanova is going to be a team that's going to get better as the season goes on. And I'm a big fan of the Eric Dixon kid. I think he's a mismatch problem, and I know Ighodaro had a big day. But those 3 players, Kolek, Cam Jones, and Ighodaro, for Marquette, those are 3 good players, and they can win you ball games. They're also more veteran players, and so I think they're going to figure out how to turn it around. But for me, I know Villanova, they have pretty much a lot of new guys on their team, but they also have a pretty talented team. And I think they're a team that can compete with anybody if they play on the same page and really developing the team that I think they can be. Like Justin Moore coming back off an injury. I knew this game was going to be a battle. And, I had a hard time deciding pregame which team I actually thought was going to be better, Villanova or Marquette. I'm talking about big picture when it comes to the Big East. And I thought Marquette did a good job of pulling away at the end like a lot of veteran teams do, making plays that win you the ball game, late in the second. And I thought that's what really separated Marquette.
Yeah, Jerel, the big thing is when you look at this Marquette team, when they're going to get 21-11 from Kolek, and they're going to get 22 on 10 to 12 shooting from Cam Jones, and they're going to get 18-7, 5 assists, 3 steals on 9 of 11 shooting from Oso, we kind of know that's the cheat code for Marquette, right? When the big three plays like the big three, they're going to win some games. My question still is, what happens when those three don't end up having a big game? Because inevitably there's going to be a point in time when someone can slow down Cam Jones, and when defenses can figure out that pick and roll with Kolek and Iguodala. And we'll talk a little bit about Villanova's defense here in a second, which spoiler alert, was not really all that promising. But my concern with Marquette is still that the supporting cast around that big three. And they didn't really need to do anything today, but that's where my concern is. Without Chase Ross, without Sean Jones, I think that kind of limits what you can be defensively with this group. To me, those are their two best on-ball defenders, without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would throw Stevie Mitchell in that too. But just overall, just like what you spoke to, Rob, and I've kind of been saying it all year, and obviously I got my Marquette bias, but I've been saying it all year. The way that their team makeup is built is just, the margin for error is just very thin. I mean, and it kind of just is what it is. So when you say what happens when the big three doesn't play well, is they struggle, and at times they kind of look like almost anybody in the Big East can beat them when those guys aren't on and aren't clicking. But at the same time, nights like tonight, when they're all kind of clicking on all cylinders like this, and they play in the high 80s, getting close to 90 points, there's not a whole lot of teams you could throw out there that I could say I think can beat them. So I think they did a great job tonight. Early on, they switched in and out of the zone early on in the first half. And some of it was out of necessity, because I know some of those guys got in foul trouble. And even though Ross and Sean Jones are out, I know Shaka didn't want to go too far into the bench. But he kind of let Armstrong get in the rhythm a little bit. He got some really easy catch and shoot threes. A couple of those guys started getting hot a little bit. But, once they came out in that second half and they switched in and out from back and forth to that man-to-man, they kind of shored up some of those looks and things like that. But a big turning point in that game, too, that I'd just like to mention, and just a small thing that I noticed, and they've done it throughout the course of the season. They activated Point Oso, man. They made Oso the primary ball handler for a minute, and they ran a little Spanish pick and roll with the high ball screen, with the back screen to the shooter popping out with Cam and Kolek, man. And they got some really good looks doing an important part of that game, man. And Oso is so versatile, and he's such a good passer with his size, man. That's NBA type stuff. You don't see a ton of that type of stuff in college basketball, but it was a nice little wrinkle that they threw in tonight, and it helped them kind of get over the hump and get going offensively.
Do you guys think Oso can play in the league? Tyler, why don't you take that first? Do you think he's an NBA guy? I know Shocker in the preseason has been compared him quite a bit with us to Draymond Green in terms of what he can provide. I don't know if he's quite that level. Draymond Green's probably a Hall of Famer, but I think Oso's there's a job for him in the league somewhere.
Well, the funny thing is, if we would ask this question about Draymond in college, we would have never imagined him having the career that he has right now. I mean, was Draymond an NBA player when he's at Michigan State? That would be a question we'd be asking before. But, yeah, I think there's a spot. He has the size. He has the athleticism. He has all the skills. Obviously, I think he needs to develop more and put up bigger stats to really get the recognition. He's going to get that playing with Kolek and Cam Jones right now. But, if he keeps developing, and I will say for all big men, don't just run away from your back to the basket skills. And I still think there's a lot to be said, and there's a lot of value in being able to score around the rim and create your own shot close to the rim. And I know it's not it's something that NBA guys are looking for right now, but I do think there's value in that. I do think that he has the ability to, put the ball on the floor and, be a versatile big man, and he has that size. So, yes, I think there is a team that will give him a chance and definitely a look. He has athleticism, he has a size, and he has a skill. It's just, who's going to take that shot.
Yeah, Tyler, we already have a shirt in our merch store that says "Make basketball physical again," which is one of your great quotes. I think we need to put one in there that says something like "Chicks dig jump hooks." You know what I mean? Like chicks dig a drop step, right? I think that's what we need to get in there. That's a problem. Post moves aren't sexy
It's
anymore.
effective.
Everyone wants to catch those
I know.
lobs.
I will wear the shirt. I will wear that shirt.
All right, Jerel, real quick on Villanova. They came into this game tied for first place. In the loss column, they were 4-1. A win would have kept them in first place with UConn and Seton Hall in the Big East standings. I was concerned. You know, I think when you shoot 14 for 33 from three on the road in a building like Fiserv Forum, you should be able to be in a position where you have a chance to win down the stretch. And they weren't, because they gave up 87 points to a Marquette team that had struggled offensively for the course of probably the last week and a half to 2 weeks. So where do you stand on Villanova, and would you put them on fraud alert at this point?
No, but they are running. They're running. I'm running a little thin on patience with them at times, because I was really high on them, sort of just like Tyler said coming into the year. I feel like they got all the parts. They got older guys. They got guys who transferred in. They also got to blend with the guys who have been there and understand the Nova culture. But you know, just you see games like that, and it's just like, man, they really struggle guarding sometimes in space for some of those guys, I feel like, and that's going to be an issue for them going forward. But at the same time, I will say this: they're going to get into the tournament, and they're going to be they keep going up and down like this. They're going to be a really scary team, because even more so because their seeding is going to be a lot lower. So they're going to be one of those teams that nobody kind of wants to run into early on in the tournament. But I wouldn't put them on fraud alert yet. They kind of started to clean it up a little bit as Big East play started, and I'm sure with Justin Moore getting his feet back underneath him and legs back underneath him, these next coming games, that they'll even it out, balance it out, and be good.
They have we say this over and over again, but they have such a weird resume. They beat North Carolina on a neutral, who we're going to talk about here in a second. They won at Creighton, which is a difficult thing to do. And they were 4-1 in the Big East with losses to St. Joe's, Drexel, Kansas State, Penn, and the like. We're going to know everything we need to know about them after they finish this run. Everyone's got an insane, 5 or 6 game stretch in the Big East. This is what Villanova has coming up. UConn at home, at St. John's, at Butler, Marquette at home, Providence at home, at Xavier, and then Seton Hall, who is currently leading the Big East at home as well. Real quick, Trevor, you want to throw up that graphic for the Big East? Let's make some predictions, guys. UConn minus 120 to win the Big East regular season title. You can see Creighton plus 400 there. These odds are courtesy of our friends over at BetMGM. Entering today, and about 2 months ago, I said that Providence was my favorite pick and favorite long shot bet when they were plus 1,500 early on this season. And obviously, without Bryce Hopkins, that conversation has changed. Seton Hall, that's the interesting one, Tyler. Plus 5,000. That means you get 50 to 1 on your money. If you bet $100, you're going to make $5,000 for the team right now, tied for first place with UConn in the Big East. They already have a win over the Huskies. Can Seton Hall get it done? Are we going to get rich? And you make Dagan Hughes a happy man after his Eagles just got blasted in the NFL playoffs.
No, I'm not buying Seton Hall finishing one. I don't care what the odds are, but I don't know. I think UConn's too strong of a team, and I think the Big East is a gauntlet. They're gonna catch some losses here soon. But I mean, they have a great home atmosphere. But I'm not buying them as a top dog in the Big East. I know it's early.
All right, Jerel, Michigan picked up a win at home over Ohio State. They had just lost 5 in a row. Juwan Howard gets back on track. Here's the big question I had. So we've seen the talent Michigan has, right? We've seen that they can be. They struggled to put together 2 halves of basketball. Is it concerning to you that this Ohio State team that's got Roddy Gale, that's got Bruce Thornton, that's got Jamison Battle, goes on the road and struggles against a team that is clearly not as connected as we thought they were going to be?
Not surprising. What's more surprising is just the deeper we get into the season is just how bad the Big Ten is, kind of top to bottom. I saw Michigan and Ohio State game earlier, and it was another one of those knockdown, drag out games that was hard to watch, man. And obviously, Ohio State record is a little bit better coming into it, but they don't have a ton of quality wins either. So I mean, I think the Big Ten is just down at this point. I really don't know who's going to beat who outside of Illinois and Purdue. So.
Well, there is at least one good team in the Big Ten, Tyler. We do know that, and that is the Purdue Boilermakers. Coming up next, we're going to talk about those Purdue Boilermakers and my UConn Huskies, and we're going to try to figure out who exactly is the best team in college basketball today. What's going on, guys? Before we get back to the show, I need to let you all know about the Field of 68 Daily, an all-encompassing college basketball newsletter that arrives in your inbox, you guessed it, daily. For less than $1 a week, you'll wake up every morning to more than 1,500 words detailing everything that you need to know to stay up to date on the world of college basketball. From the notable mid-major upsets to the stars that are out injured to the breakout performances that only our team of college basketball junkies watched. The Daily is edited and produced by Mike Miller, who spent more than 2 decades running NBC's digital written content, and is subscribed by more than half of the Division I coaching staffs, the biggest names in college basketball media, and the agents that work as power brokers in the sport. For just $50 for the year, you get access to the same information that the insiders get. And before we get you back to your regularly scheduled Field of 68 content, let me tell you guys about the Field of 68 merch store. Head over to fieldof68.shop for officially branded Field of 68 apparel. Whether you're supporting your favorite team in the student section or from the couch, there is no better way to gear up than the latest from the Field of 68. The best thing I can say about our merch is the quality of the product. Anyone that has ever worn a t-shirt knows how frustrating it is when the neck gets all stretched out and the bottom of the shirt starts looking like the bottom of bell-bottom jeans. And there's nothing worse than a hoodie that loses its snugness that makes it such a perfect way to stay warm during the cold winter weather. Whether you're shopping for yourself or for the college basketball fan in your life, everything you need is at the fieldof68.shop. Welcome back. The Monday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. It is the end of a 3-day weekend. It is snowing here in New Jersey. It is -9 degrees in Chicago where Jerel is. I think Tyler's just sitting there nice and warm. He's the only one of us is actually getting some normal weather right now, some tolerable weather right now. So we are here to bring you the Monday overreactions. It's a 3-day weekend. We got to dive all the way into it. And here's where we're going to start, gentlemen. Purdue is the number 2 team in the AP poll. UConn right now is the number 1 team in the AP poll. And if you listen to the people that are in my mentions on Twitter and the Purdue fans that are losing their minds, there is no question about it that Purdue should be the number 1 team over UConn for a couple of reasons, not the least of which are a win over Gonzaga, a win over Tennessee, a win over Marquette, a win over Xavier, a win over Alabama, a win over Arizona, a win over Illinois. That is what they argue. That is what they are saying, that the resume just does not match up. I'm not huge into talking about resumes right now, but I'm going to give the floor to you, Jerel. Is it an overreaction to say that Purdue should be the number 1 team in the country and they were robbed by the AP voters?
Absolutely. I think they got it right. I think UConn should be 1. And even with the great resume that Purdue has, this isn't the old school, BCS computers, man. If you lose, you go down. I mean, it's really that simple. You usually drop, especially if the teams behind you win. So, they drop one. Obviously, is nothing that anybody's worried about. Purdue still looks like a well-oiled machine for the most part. Everybody still has them picked to make a deep run. But should they be number 1 this week starting off? No, they took an L. So. I think they got it right with the Huskies being the top.
Tyler, you agree?
There's no question. You take an L, you got to slip. And if you watch UConn play, then you watch Purdue play. UConn's a much better team. They have a sophisticated offense. They have players, and also one of their better players is injured, and they're still doing their thing without him. And when they get him healthy, Klingon, when he comes back, they're going to dominate even more. I think they're well coached, and also Purdue's well coached too. And I like Purdue, and this isn't any shade towards Purdue, but they play in the Big Ten as well, which is we just talked about how weak that conference was, and the Big East is just a different it's a different zip code, and there's a lot more quality teams and quality wins, and they're going to be tested more in the Big East. And UConn, to me, is the top dog in all of college basketball right now.
The top dogs. You hear that? From the brain of Tyler Hansbrough right there. Here's what I would say. I would think right now, if you're comparing the resumes, right, and if you were to put together a bracket and you were going to put together your field of 68, which we will do starting next Monday on Fielding the 68, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time on our YouTube channel. That'll be streaming. It'll be twice a week, every Monday, every Friday, 5:30 p.m. We have the best bracketologists in the business. Make sure you go check that out. If you were to put together a bracket today, I think Purdue would clearly have to be the number 1 overall seed because of all those wins they have in that resume that they put together. What I would argue is that UConn is the team that should be the betting favorite to win the national title as of today because of the fact that they have one of the best records in the sport and that they put together these wins. And we've seen them go out and handle, a North Carolina team fairly easily in Madison Square Garden. They've beaten Gonzaga in what was basically a road game, and they are 5-1 in the best conference in the sport. Yes, they have not played any of the other title contenders in the Big East just yet, but I think that they are probably the team with the highest ceiling because they've done most of this without their full complement of players. Steph Castle missed most of the first month of the season. Donovan Clingan didn't really get healthy until he got into the middle of December, right before he injured his foot, and he has obviously missed the last 5 games. If you look at where they were, according to Ken Palm's adjusted defensive efficiency metrics, on the day that he was hurt against Seton Hall, they were 11th nationally in adjusted defensive efficiency. They were 3rd in offense. They are still, as of today, 3rd in offense. And they are now 44th in defense. If you look at some of these other metrics, there's a site called barttorvik.com that allows you to look at these efficiency numbers in a specific time window. Since Clingan went down, UConn is outside the top 100 in defensive efficiency. He is everything for them on the defensive end of the floor. He is the reason why they can survive with a team that doesn't have great perimeter defenders on it. So I do think that once UConn finally gets healthy and gets rolling, that's the team that you would want to see when they get when things click in late February, when things click in March, when things click into the NCAA tournament. So that's the way that I would phrase it. I think Purdue right now probably has the best overall resume. UConn is the best overall team. And I'm not at all biased, guys. There's no bias there at all with anything that I'm saying. All right. Overreaction number 2. And Tyler, we are going to go to you first on this one because you clearly have no bias when talking about your North Carolina Tar Heels. If they defend the way that they've been defending for the course of the last 3 to 4 weeks, if they are actually a top 10 defense in the sport of college basketball, which their numbers say that they are right now as of today, then they are the most dangerous team in college basketball, because if you're going to guard like that with an offense that could put up 100 on Tennessee, that could put up 103 on Syracuse, I don't want to see that team. I don't want to see them when they get hot. I don't want to see them when they have RJ Davis and Elliot Cadeau figuring everything out. Talk to me about your Heels. Just how good are they?
I think their season and how far they go in the tournament is going to depend on their defense. And I think recently those numbers defensively, I would say they started playing defense consistently hard after the UConn game. And I think when we lost to UConn, I think that's when the season really started to turn around. And another thing about this team is they started off, the ACC play on 3 road games. They went to Pitt, they got that dub, and they went to Clemson, a tough place, who Clemson is a very underrated team, having a good year. They got the win there. And then they went into an in-state rival, North Carolina State, and got the dub there. Now, 3 road wins for this team who, over the years past, we've struggled on the road, and we've done really well at home, but we're starting to take it on the road, and that's growth. But also, this team playing defense, and with the addition of Harrison Ingram and also the emergence of RJ Davis and his scoring ability, give the ball to the guy. He can make a shot. He can get you a bucket anywhere. And also Elliot Cadeau, a kid who is emerging and growing and has the ability to find teammates and pass the ball, which we've struggled with in the past, I think has been big for this team. But also Mondo continues to do his thing. Even though his scoring has dropped a little bit, I think that him willing to accept kind of a lesser role offensively and get more guys involved has really helped him as well. But also don't take away the fact that we have depth this year as well. Seth Trimble's been coming off the bench, playing unbelievable and making winning plays. Even if he's not scoring, he's coming in there to play defense and get stops, and that's very encouraging. But this team, I think I can say this, I think they have the potential to get to the Final Four. Once you get to the Final Four, anything can happen. And I haven't been that confident about that, saying that UNC is a Final Four team until this point. And I think they've proven that recently, especially with the road wins and how handily they beat Syracuse over the weekend.
Jerel, I'll let you get in here in 1 second. I want to follow up with one thing on you, though, Tyler. You mentioned that Armando's taken a little bit of a lesser role on the offensive end. You kind of lived through that too a little bit, right? In 2008, you were the National Player of the Year. You come back in 2009, and your numbers across the board are a little bit down. Now, I know I think you had a knee, something going, you had an injury at the start of the year, but if you go back and you watch it, like you kind of, you let the game, I don't know if you let the game come to you more, but it seemed like you were, it was more, I don't want to say a team effort, but you were in the same boat as Mondo, where it wasn't, all right, let's throw him the ball every single time. It seems like winning was more important to you, and it feels like right now Armando is more, winning is more important to him. You think that's fair?
Yeah, well, for me, Ty Lawson, he had an unbelievable streak my senior year. I think he was actually hurt my junior year, so I had to take on a little bit of a bigger role. But I will say, Ty Lawson had an unbelievable second half of the year, my senior year. The way he was playing. Then when we got to the tournament, Wayne Ellington kind of went off, and he was a player that we relied on heavily. But Armando, to me, I think the offense is more fluid this year because we struggled from outside shooting last year, and it just seemed like we just felt like we had to force feed Mondo the ball, and we couldn't figure out how to get him the ball, set offensive play, and it was just pass the ball around the perimeter, while the defense just, put 3 or 4 bodies on Mondo, and it was kind of brutal to watch at times. But this year the team is running, and they're getting, much easier buckets, but also the outside shooting from Harrison Ingram has really opened up things, and also RJ's having a much better year. So it is similar to my senior year, where you're having guys, I would say Ty Lawson, you look at RJ, those are type of guys that are having good years. So my senior year, Ty had a great year this year. RJ's kind of going off. There's a lot of scoring going through that. And also Harrison Ingram's having an unbelievable year and scoring. So, that, it's always a good thing when you have multiple options offensively.
Jerel, what do you make of North Carolina here? You can get your take in here. We haven't let you talk for like 5 minutes.
Oh, it's all good. Look, y'all hit it spot on, so I don't have a whole lot to say. Tyler pretty much covered everything. So, but no, I'm definitely all in on UNC. My only early concerns with them watching them play was on the defensive end, and it seems like these guys are really bought in, and they're shoring that up. And right now they're kicking ass and taking names. So, I think they got all the pieces there. They definitely have title upside. I think they have the inside-out combo, RJ Davis, who I think is probably one of the best guards in the country, if not the best, and Baycott, who has been one of the best interior players for the last couple years in the nation. Just that dynamic duo and getting all the pieces around those guys with Ingram and Cormac Ryan and Cadeau coming off the bench. Seth Trimble, those guys. So, they got all the pieces there. They just got to all stay balled in and continue to pound the rock on the defensive end, and they'll have a shot at a Final Four this year for sure.
What if you had to say that there was something you were concerned about with them? Like, what is the biggest issue that you see with them having a chance to win a title?
I think the biggest thing is somewhat guarding ball screens in space. If I had to pick one, and that's something that I think, and to be honest, Baycott has gotten better at it. I'm obviously not inside the program, so it's kind of outside looking in. Tyler may know better than me, but it looks like he trimmed down or slimmed down a little bit. He looked like he's moving a lot better and in a little bit better conditioning too. So that's going a long way for them, helping them in ball screen pick and roll situations. But for the most part, it's all on the defensive end.
Yeah, I think that Monda, the biggest thing is that he told Jeff last year that he didn't spend the offseason trying to get his ankle healthy. Remember, he sprained his ankle pretty bad in the
Yep.
tournament twice, and
Tourney,
he didn't give it a chance to get healthy because he had to do all these different NIL kind of appearances stuff. But listen, we're going to head to a quick break. On the other side, we're going to have to talk about the Illini. We're going to dive into it. That conversation has to happen. As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 each and every week of the college basketball season. We have a special offer that will be available starting on Tuesday, January 9th and running through Monday, February 12th, the morning after Super Bowl 58. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, in honor of the big game, you can use the bonus code FIELD158 and you'll get $158 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD158. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive $158 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure that you use that bonus code FIELD158 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create separate accounts in each state. It's easy, it's simple, it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the heart of the college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odd boosts, and my favorite, a nice juicy parlay boost. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Field 158. Welcome back. The Monday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. We are diving into Monday overreactions. I got Jerel McNeal. I got Tyler Hansbrough. My name is Rob Dauster. Dagan Hughes has finally been put out of his misery. The Eagle season is over. College basketball is here in the state of Pennsylvania. RIP Steelers, RIP Eagles. You know who's off and rolling? Auburn. Here's overreaction number 3, guys. Auburn, and not Kentucky, and not Tennessee, and not Alabama, and not anybody else in that conference. It's Auburn that is the best team in that league. Jerel, where do you stand?
So I don't think this is an overreaction. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's not an overreaction because I definitely think Auburn is a top 3 team in the SEC without a doubt. But I just can't put anybody over Kentucky right now, man. Just the roster, the depth, the talent. My God, they got a ton of good players, and they got NBA guys that they rolling in off the bench, and you just kind of never know where it hits you. So I wouldn't call it an overreaction. And Auburn is a damn good team, and I might be wrong. They might end up taking the title as well too because they got a little bit better combination with some experienced guys as well too. But they get after you. I love the way Coach Pearl draws it up, man. They get after you, nonstop pressure, and they play hard as they possibly can every time you run into them. So you kind of know what you're gonna get, and those guys seem to be clicking on all cylinders right now.
Tyler, are you going to make friends with the Kentucky fans here? Overreaction?
I don't
Auburn,
think.
What do you think?
Listen, it's not an overreaction. I think Kentucky has the potential to win a title this year, but they're full of young guys, and they're going to have to go on the road. Can they win on the road? Auburn has a great home atmosphere. There's no reason that they can't win the SEC. I like Broom. I think he's good, and I think, Pearl's a great coach. He plays defense. They get out and pressure people. But also I like Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State's a team that's kind of going underrated, and, they have the potential as well. So I think Auburn, they could get it done as well.
I think my favorite thing on this show is that every team we talk about, Tyler makes sure to shout out the big guy on their roster. Make jump hook sexy again, man. Bring it back. Chicks dig the jump hook. So I think Auburn is the best team in the SEC because of what they can do defensively, because of the depth that they have, because it's just one of these things where it's wave after wave after wave after wave of guys that's going to play the same way. I think that Robert Dillingham and DJ Wagner and Reed Shepherd and these freshmen will be able to handle Katie Johnson coming at them. But I don't know if they'll be able to handle Katie Johnson coming at them. Shout out to Terrence Oglesby. He says that Katie Johnson runs on nightmare fuel. And that is what you are going to be dealing with when you have to see him squaring off with you. The last thing that I want to do here real quick, just talking about the SEC, we got to give a shout out to Dalton Connect in Tennessee. I do think that if there is one guy in that league that I would say, okay, look, he can carry his team to a championship if he needs to, it is Dalton Connect. And real quick, while we are talking about this, guys, I just do want to mention Vaulted. Vaulted is an app that allows you to participate in daily cash prize pools without an entry fee. It is a place you can store your predictions forever. And by using the Vaulted Challenge feature, you can prove you're smarter than your friends. So go download the Vaulted app. That's VLTED to challenge your friends, store your predictions, and join daily cash prize pools without an entry fee. You got 10 seconds each. Jerel, do you agree with me? Do you accept my challenge? I'm saying Auburn's going to win the SEC. Who you got?
I'm going Kentucky. I do not accept the challenge.
Tyler, who you got?
Man, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to go Kentucky as well.
Tyler did not want to do that.
He did not want to do that, but that is an absolutely perfect segue because we can go from – it looks like Tyler's made nice with all the Kentucky fans now, and now we're going to go to the other fan base that considers him public enemy number one. Here is overreaction number 4. Illinois isn't a fringe NCAA tournament team without Terrence Shannon. They are an NIT team without Terrence Shannon available. Tyler, talk to me about the Illini. They lost at home to one of the worst road teams in college basketball on Sunday in Maryland. Are you concerned about Illinois? Where do you stand here? Is it an overreaction to say that they are headed to the NIT?
It's not. And I'm sorry, Illinois fans. I'm not sold on you guys' team. I do believe that Coleman Hawkins, listen, he is a great player. I think he does a lot of things, but I don't think he has a surrounding cast outside of Terrence Shannon. And, I think losing a guy like that who is probably having an All-American type year, that's not sustainable. And, I don't think that the Big Ten is, a very challenging conference. So I do think they'll get some wins. But overall picture, I do not see them doing much if they do make it into the tournament. Now they can prove me wrong and use this as fuel, but I'm just not a big believer in them. And also their style of play isn't really, something that I would tune in and watch to. It's not really aesthetically pleasing as somebody who likes to watch, basketball a lot. I don't really think, ISOs and, not sharing the ball is good quality basketball, in my opinion. I see a lot of that when I watch Illinois.
Yeah, we got to get you watching Dane Danger, the king of booty ball. Jerel, what do you make of Illinois?
I think they're going to be on the cusp. Obviously, they just lost a major, a bad loss at home to a team that's struggling on the road, like you said, Maryland. But look, they're gonna have to find a way to piece together a couple more quality, I would say, home wins, because I don't know how many of them they're actually gonna have an opportunity to get anyway on the road. But they're gonna need to beat another solid team or two in their conference to ensure that they get in. And obviously we don't know exactly what's gonna happen with Terrence Shannon, but man, it changes the dynamic of that team greatly, man. He's such a good player. So is it a possibility? Absolutely. I wouldn't call it an overreaction for sure. It's a possibility that they kind of they hit a skid here and they start to struggle a little bit and they drop some games. And to be honest with you, you don't have a ton of games this year in the Big Ten that you can afford to just lose, like, because all they're gonna be bad losses. There's gonna be some bad losses in there because there's not a ton of quality good teams in the Big Ten this year. So outside of Purdue, who they already played once, where does the quality come in? That you're gonna have a lot of games where it's gonna be pressure. Like, this team isn't the best team, but we can't lose to them at home. Otherwise, they're gonna be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, the one thing that I'll say is that I don't think they've banked enough great wins to be able to withstand a 500 kind of season in the Big Ten, especially if it's going to be one of those things where the committee says, well, when you beat Florida Atlantic and you won at Rutgers, you had Terrence Shannon and now he's not there and this, that, and the third. If the tournament started today, they were I think they would very clearly be in and probably with a pretty decent seed, but it's about what happens the rest of the year. They don't get Wisconsin until March 2nd. That game is on the road. And when they play Purdue again at home, that is not going to be until March 5th. So hopefully they can figure something out there. It sounds like there's still a chance that Terrence Shannon could end up coming back. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know what's going on with that legal situation. The only thing that I'll just add here, I want to read you guys a quote that came from Rick Pitino after St. John's lost by a point at Creighton. He said, "I don't feel good. When we lose, I effing hate the world. Just so you understand that. I don't feel good. I've never felt good with a loss. I don't believe in those valiant efforts on the road. I feel like I want to kill myself, jump in the cold, and die of frostbite." That seems like a little bit of a different attitude than Illinois fans had after keeping it close with Purdue on the road. So that's from a guy that is a champion. You've heard Tyler Hansbrough hate on Illinois for that attitude for a champion. And we're just kidding, Illinois fans. Look, we were trolling you guys. Hopefully you got a little bit of a laugh at that. All right. My third overreaction for the segment, the fifth one for the night, Texas Tech. Are they the most underrated team in college basketball today? Jerel, let's go to you first on that one.
I'm gonna say overreaction, and it's another one that's another really good team who has been playing well, especially the last couple of weeks. But I got another team in mind where I feel like they might need a little bit of pub. I think they're gonna kind of sneak up on some people. The South Carolina Gamecocks. They're sitting at 14-2 right now, with their two losses being at Alabama, which a game you kind of throw that one away. They got throttled eventually in that game. And then the other game is at Clemson, and I think they ended up losing that game by like 5 or 6 points. It was a single-digit loss, man. But they got a pretty good team. Michi Johnson, B.J. Mack, those guys are really good players. And, they got – listen to this. They have 9 guys on their roster who average 10 minutes or more a game. So they have depth. They're not the biggest team in the world, but they got good collective size. They got a ton of guys that are around between 6'2", 6'3", and like 6'7" or 6'8". So, and that allows them to kind of come at people in waves. They're a stingy defensive team, and I think they kind of haven't gotten their just due yet. I think they're a pretty good team this year.
Tyler?
I don't think it's an overreaction, but for me right now, there's another team that comes to mind, and I think we've had a lot of expectations, but I still believe in Creighton, and I know they've had some losses, but they still have really good quality players. I'm a big fan of Ryan Kalkbrenner. I think he's one of the best defensive bigs in the country. He's also more of a experienced player, and also they do have some really good players on their team, and they have tournament experience, and I'm a big believer in this team. I know they can score offensively and do a lot of different things, but I do think when it's all said and done, I think Creighton will develop into a team that we're talking about come March, and a team that possibly could be a sleeper team for the Final Four for me.
Yeah, I think Texas Tech definitely deserves to be in the underrated category. They're not ranked in the AP poll today. We're going to find out everything we need to know about them over the next 6 games. They have Houston on the road, BYU at home, Oklahoma on the road, TCU on the road, Tyler, your boy Wes Miller, Cincinnati at home, and Baylor on the road in their next 6. That is just a ridiculous schedule. And then after they play UCF, then it's Kansas at home, Iowa State on the road. Like, it's the Big 12, man. It's absolutely insane. The only other team that I think deserves to be in that conversation as well, and look, I really like Texas Tech. I think Joe Toussaint, those guys are having a really good year. I would put TCU in that conversation as well, because if the officials could have made a call that made sense to any basketball watcher on the planet at the end of that Kansas TCU game in Fall Gallon Fieldhouse when they gave Ernest Uday a flagrant one, then TCU would be sitting here at 3-0 in the Big 12 with a win at Kansas, a win over Oklahoma, and a win over Houston, who was the number 2 team in the country and who is still number 1 on KenPom. Jerel, I know you were fired up after that flagrant 1 foul call. You were on the show with us on Saturday night. You said you would have gotten probably tossed out of the game. Tyler, I know how you would feel.
Sure.
You want to make basketball physical again. So I don't think flagrant fouls exist in Tyler Hansbrough's ideal world of college basketball. So listen, we got to hit a break here. On the other side, we're going to talk about the Big East versus the Big 12, and I'm going to tell you why the Big East is actually the best conference in college basketball. What's going on, guys? Before we get back to the show, I need to let you all know about the Field of 68 Daily, an all-encompassing college basketball newsletter that arrives in your inbox, you guessed it, daily. For less than $1 a week, you'll wake up every morning to more than 1,500 words detailing everything that you need to know to stay up to date on the world of college basketball. From the notable mid-major upsets to the stars that are out injured to the breakout performances that only our team of college basketball junkies watched. The Daily is edited and produced by Mike Miller, who spent more than 2 decades running NBC's digital written content, and is subscribed by more than half of the Division I coaching staffs, the biggest names in college basketball media, and the agents that work as power brokers in the sport. For just $50 for the year, you get access to the same information that the insiders get. And before we get you back to your regularly scheduled Field of 68 content, let me tell you guys about the Field of 68 merch store. Head over to fieldof68.shop for officially branded Field of 68 apparel. Whether you're supporting your favorite team in the student section or from the couch, there is no better way to gear up than the latest from the Field of 68. The best thing I can say about our merch is the quality of the product. Anyone that has ever worn a t-shirt knows how frustrating it is when the neck gets all stretched out and the bottom of the shirt starts looking like the bottom of bell-bottom jeans. And there's nothing worse than a hoodie that loses its snugness that makes it such a perfect way to stay warm during the cold winter weather. Whether you're shopping for yourself or for the college basketball fan in your life, everything you need is at the fieldof68.shop. Welcome back. Field of 68 after dark. It is Monday night. My name is Rob Dauster. I have Jerel McNeal with me. I have Tyler Hansbrough with me, and we are overreacting to everything that we saw in college basketball over the weekend and also including the last week. So here's where I want to start with this, guys. The Big East. We've seen Seton Hall climb up to the top of the conference. We've seen St. John's look like a real threat to win the league. We know how good UConn is. We know how good that Creighton is now that they've figured some things out. Villanova, who we had all written off, they're still sitting there at 4-2 in the conference. I know Tyler loves Creighton. Here's my hot take. Here's my overreaction. It is the Big East, not the Big 12, that is actually the best conference in college basketball. Jerel, you are a Big East guy. You got that Marquette hat on right now. You are sitting in a city where it is -9 degrees and there is nothing more Big East than -9 degrees outside. Am I right here? Back me up. Come on. The Big East is better than the Big 12. What do you say?
You're spot on. It's the best basketball conference in the country. And it's because the Big East has put priority on basketball, which is cool to see, man. And I think it's really paying off for them. Obviously, there are some other really good conferences. The Big 12 is really good, but a lot of these conferences this year are kind of top heavy. And as you see early on, just throughout the Big East play, it's a gauntlet, man. You don't know what's going to happen on a night-to-night basis. When you going in and you got to go play Seton Hall at Seton Hall or go play St. John's at the small gym and you're not at the Garden, those type of things, man. Those games are never easy. All of these teams have something to fight for. We have a ton of teams that are kind of like in the balance right now, fringe NCAA tournament teams. So everybody's looking for that next statement win. And then you got the upper echelon teams, the UConns, the Creightons, the Marquettes, and now the St. John's even, who got the number next to their name. So those opportunities are going to be out there, man. But it's really cool to see. I think it's a no-brainer. I think the Big East is hands down the best conference in the country this year.
Tyler?
I used to not like all the Big East love, and I used to find ways to kind of hate on the Big East because you guys talk so much about how good of a basketball conference you are. But you guys are the best basketball conference in the country this year, and I can't argue with that. I think there's multiple teams in the Big East when I look at it, who can make runs. I believe in Marquette, and I think Villanova could be one of those teams as well. They're sneaky. They can beat teams. They have players, but also Creighton is a team who I believe in, and also I do think Creighton will make a deep tournament run. But also UConn, I consider UConn the best team in the country. I love the way they play. I don't think there's a harder playing team out there than UConn. And also St. John's. I mean, you can't ever count a Rick Pitino team out the way they play. So it is intriguing to me. And if I had to pick a conference to watch exclusively for the year, it would be the Big East. And I'm taking that, obviously I would pick the ACC if I wasn't so tied to my Tar Heels, but the Big East is the best this year. I mean, there's a lot of quality teams in there. And I also believe there are multiple teams in the Big East that can make the Final Four. When I look at the Big 12, I think Houston has a shot. I think Kansas has a shot. Outside of that, I think, there's teams in there that can make runs, but I'm not sold on those teams, and I'm not as confident as I am in some of the teams in the Big East.
All right, so I think that the chat in general is probably going to say that I'm a homer when I say that I think I tend to lean towards the Big East here when it comes to the best conference in the sport. I think the teams at the top are better than the teams at the top of the Big 12 because I'm not as high on Kansas as some people are. I'm not as high on Houston as some people are. I do think that a lot of the teams in the middle are the metrics are inflated. I'm not buying BYU as the 11th best team in college basketball. The way that KenPom has them ranked. And I'm not sure I'm even ready to buy Oklahoma as a top 25 team at this point. I'm not buying Texas as the number 42 team in college basketball. And I think when you look at the bottom of the league, as bad as DePaul is and as much trouble as Georgetown's going to have winning this year, I think there are more teams at the bottom of the Big 12 that are I don't want to say pushovers, but that aren't going to be as competitive as what you see in the bottom of the Big East. So I think I would tend to lean towards there, but I'll tell you what, man, the fact that we're even having this conversation tells you how good the improvement of the Big East, no matter where you lie in this conversation. The one thing I would say as well is Texas Tech, Iowa State, TCU. I kind of want to see where they end up shaking out as the season continues to progress, because if they're as good as they've looked in certain instances this season, then this might end up being a silly conversation that we are having at this point. All right, speaking of the Big 12, one more overreaction regarding this conference. Kansas is the top 10 team that is most likely to lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament this year. Obviously, we know some of the question marks regarding the fifth man on that roster. I said this stat the other day. I don't know if you guys heard it, but a friend of mine, Evan Miyakawa, who runs the analytics site, evanmaya.com, rated the fifth starter in every team in college basketball, and Kansas has the 64th best fifth man in the sport of college basketball. That is El Marco Jackson. I said it was Nick Timberlake the other day. Jerel, are you with me? Is Kansas the most likely AP top 10 team to get beat in the first round of the NCAA tournament? Or is that an overreaction?
No, that's an overreaction for sure. Now, they might get beat early. It might be the first weekend. I just don't think it's going to be the first round just because they've done their work so early. So they should get a pretty decent seed, and the Big 12 isn't looking great right now. So I don't see a whole lot of teams that are going to be out there to challenge them going throughout the course of this conference season. But I would probably say, and I guess it would be cheating to kind of say Illinois, right? But I would say Tennessee. I would say Tennessee.
Tyler, what do you got?
That was my team, Tennessee. That's
my bad, Tyler.
AP, hey, you're good. You're good. Hey, great minds think alike.
Yeah.
Listen, I do think that Tennessee struggles scoring outside of Dalton Connect. I know Zakai Ziegler is playing much better, and he's starting to find his rhythm, coming back from the ACL. But I think this team, I think they're going to have issues scoring. And when you get to the tournament, you're not playing on your home court. I know Dalton Connect can get extremely hot. I saw him light us up in the Smith Center. but there was nobody else on the team that even gave them much else. And so I think they're going to have issues scoring when it comes to the tournament. So I would say that they're the most vulnerable team. And your first-round knockout with Kansas is absurd. I think Kansas is unbelievable. And I know they probably have the fifth worst starter in all of college basketball or whatever the analytics say. I will tell you, their four starters, probably one of the four best starters in college basketball right now. And also they have the best coach in college basketball, Bill Self.
Well, look, the one thing I will say is I'm very impressed. Tyler went on a whole speech about Kansas. Not one Hunter Dickinson mentioned. That's the biggest upset that we've seen on the field of 68 after dark in years. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I came up with that one. I'm going to blame that one on edibles are now legal in New Jersey, so I'm going to go ahead and blame it on that. The one thing I will say is you can see the graphic right here. Fog warning. Yeah, we got a T-shirt for a fog warning T-shirt. Kansas is much better at home than they are on the road, and when you get them in a neutral site venue, that is something that I might be a little bit concerned about. And I know I just said that the Big East is better than the Big 12, but I will be very curious to see what happens as they go through the gauntlet that is the Big 12 and they head to some of these road environments. Like Iowa State and places like Texas Tech that can get really, really loud. Baylor's got a really fun new home court environment as well. All right, let's get into the toasts of the night. What we do every night is we toast someone to celebrate the performance that they had during that day of college basketball. So, Jerel, I'll go to you first in this one. I think I know where you're going to go for your toast of the night here.
It shouldn't be that hard. It might surprise you a little bit, and I'll say this. My toast of the night, obviously, I'm keeping with the Marquette tradition rolling here with the big win today, but I'm going with Cam Jones. Cam Jones. Look, and I know you guys on the show love him a ton. I love him. The nation loves him. TK gets so much great press, man, and he's well deserving of it all. But man, Cam kind of gets thrown under the bus with some of this shit a little bit, man. And he's having one of the best years I've seen a Marquette guard have in some time here too, man. And to be honest with you, these last couple games, even with TK, has been struggling. Cam has been going off. He's been keeping us in games. He's been carrying us, man. So he's doing a hell of a job. He had a big game tonight with 22 points, 6 boards, 4 assists. So that's an easy one for me. Shout out to Cam. Keep getting buckets, my boy.
Cam Jones, that is the Field of 68 fashion correspondent, Cam Jones. Tyler, who you got? Who's your toast of the night?
I'm going to toast to the whole Fab Five. I saw they're in the building tonight. Also, they got the dub. But also, I'm going to give another toast out to Baker Mayfield, comeback quarterback of the year, smacked the Eagles. Sorry, Dagan, just absolutely railroaded you guys. So those are my toast.
All right, so I'm going to go off the board. Well, cheers to Baker Mayfield. Cheers to the Fab Five. I'm going to go off the board a little bit. I'm going to go with Sean Duragordon, who had 36 points and 12 boards for Siena tonight, a road win at Niagara. Siena's had a rough season. They came into this game 2-13 overall. They were one of the 13 teams in the bottom of KenPom. They were ranked 349th nationally. Sean got eligible when December 19th, when all of the two-time transfers were eligible, and he has not scored less than 23 points in a game this season. Through 6 games, he's averaging 25 and 9 boards. Cheers to him. Cheers to you guys. Cheers to the Field of 68 After Dark. Head over to Stadium, the app, and the YouTube